Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of the SabhFIT Podcast. I'm your host, Sabah Kadri. I'm a scientist and a certified fitness trainer. This fitness podcast is aimed towards making the science behind your fitness questions understandable and easy so that you can apply it to your daily lives. I have a YouTube channel that has helped hundreds of thousands of people lose weight, get healthier, and make workouts an integral part of their daily lives through super fun Indian music, dancing, and workout programs. And I'm here to now answer your fitness questions to take that commitment to the next step. Today's question that we're going to be answering is, how do we control our junk food cravings? Now, let's be honest, we all have cravings now and then for either salty food or sweet food or fatty food, completely normal. And trust me, I'm not here to tell you that you need to deprive yourself or never ever touch junk food in your life. It's perfectly fine, in fact, to treat yourself to a small portion here or there. But the problem happens when junk food becomes binge eating. It becomes something that you cannot have control over anymore. And then you have the risk of weight gain, and actually junk food can definitely mess up a lot of perfectly good workout programs as well. So let's get started with this particular episode. Let's define junk food first. Junk food is typically extremely processed food, which is high in either sugar or salt or caffeine or fat. What are junk food cravings? Well, we're not talking about just, I'm going to have a bite of this thing and it's unhealthy, or it's a few French fries or something like that. No, junk food cravings is when you start getting intense and really uncontrollable desires for food, which is outside of your typical hunger cycles. So next, let's get into some scientific explanations for why you get these cravings. And please don't turn it off when I say scientific. I'm really going to simplify this for you. Let's start by saying that there is not going to be one easy reason that we're going to pinpoint. Cravings are complex. Reasons for these cravings are complex. It could be a combination of multiple factors. And really, one of the things that we will get to later in the episode is, for these different types of reasons, what can you do to control those cravings? But then the first thing I'm going to tell you about, spoiler alert, is that you need to understand your reasons for junk food cravings. You need to probably introspect a little bit more, pay more attention to your daily lives, and see, when you are going for those unhealthy food items, what is triggering that? And that is really on you to start thinking about it. So let's start with number 1, reward system activation. What does that mean? Foods that are high in salt or sugar or fat, they can really start triggering our brain's reward system. It can start releasing these chemicals in the brain called dopamine, which are associated with pleasure. And then over time, as every time you start eating these junk foods and you're releasing these chemicals, you get into this vicious cycle where, eating this makes me feel really good. And we all have that, and that's totally normal as well. But this is one of those reasons that we go to those unhealthy food items. So the next reason that you can have these junk food cravings is hormonal imbalances. I'm going to introduce you at this point to 3 different hormones: leptin, ghrelin, and insulin. And we're going to come back to this when we talk about controlling our junk food cravings. So these hormones are kind of related to making us feel either hungry or full. Satiety, as the term is, like feeling satisfied. I've had a good meal now. So let's start with leptin. Leptin is a hormone that is released by the adipose tissue cells, which is the fat cells in our body, and it leads to this feeling of satiety, of that fullness. It is also regulating our long-term energy balances, and long-term imbalances in this hormone can really mess up, making you feel hungry when you're not hungry. Another hormone that I want to talk about is ghrelin. Ghrelin is a hormone that is produced and released by our stomach. This is regulating our feeling of hunger. Then, of course, insulin. Insulin, as you might have heard in reference to diabetes, insulin is a hormone that is released by our pancreas. It is basically making our cells use the sugar and glucose in our body to produce energy. When we have any kind of imbalances of insulin, either the pancreas are not releasing enough insulin, or we have such high sugar levels in our blood that even though the insulin is being released, the cells are not using that insulin properly. That's when we start getting like improper sugar levels in our blood, and that also causes diabetes. So these three hormones are super important for us in terms of regulating the feelings of hunger, but also maintaining energy balance in our body. So we're going to come back to these hormones. We're going to talk about this a little bit later, but just know that when you consume a lot of unhealthy and high processed foods, they can really disrupt the balance of these hormones in our body, and that can definitely lead to increased hunger as well as junk food cravings. So the next reason we're going to talk about is conditioning and learned behaviors. Now see, if over time you keep consuming these junk food in response to triggers. So let's say that your trigger is stress, or it might just be I'm bored, or I'm watching something on the TV, I just want to nibble on something, which is totally fine. Maybe you just need to nibble on something healthier. But over time, if you are reaching for those highly processed foods in response to these triggers, your body can start associating that when I feel this way, this is what I need. And that's when you start getting into this very unhealthy pattern. Another reason could be emotional and psychological factors. Really, for example, we just talked about that in terms of the previous reason, but let's say that you could have stress or boredom are very typical emotional factors that are very common reasons that people eat unhealthy food. But then sometimes nostalgia can really trigger cravings as well. So for example, a pakoda or fried fritter on a rainy day, right? Chai and pakoda on a rainy day is such a common nostalgia triggered craving. And again, like I said at the top of the episode, I'm not going to tell you not to have something, but in those cases, I'm going to probably suggest to you that you go in for portion control. Maybe go in for just 1 or 2 pakoras instead of going for a full plate of it. And the last reason we're going to talk about is hunger. Okay, hunger doesn't mean like our typical meals. When we start skipping meals in our daily life, what ends up happening is our body is just going into this intense hunger, and then you don't have your meals around. You're not eating on time, for example, and then you start snacking. And then you could go for healthy snacks, but then most typically, if you're not planning for this, you would end up going for the most unhealthy snack in your pantry. So those were our reasons for junk food cravings. And you might be thinking, is it even possible to beat these junk food cravings? And I'm going to tell you, absolutely 100% yes, you can beat those junk food cravings, but it will take time. It cannot happen overnight. These are learned behaviors in our body, and we need to start conditioning our body to healthy habits, which then become so normal, and you're making your brain learn better behaviors. And automatically you can start moving towards this feelings where you are not craving the unhealthy snacks. In fact, you get turned off by unhealthy snacks over time. Again, like I said, having a small portion here or there is not at all a bad idea, but I'm never going to ask you to deprive yourself completely. But understanding your triggers is going to be extremely important as we go into the rest of this episode. So now let's get started by going into the crux of this episode, which is how do you fight these junk food cravings? So once you've understood your triggers, whether it is stress or boredom or emotions or just habit, you can start now moving into breaking these habits, right? So number 1, planning your meals. See, if junk food is such a bad habit for you that separating yourself from temptation is just not possible, something that can really start helping you is by you planning your healthy, balanced diet meals. And I'm not talking about strict dieting here, I'm just talking about good, healthy eating. Let's say that you have a very busy schedule, you have a busy work life. Maybe start planning your meals on Sunday, or even let's say you go for your grocery shopping on a Friday evening. Start thinking about what are the different kinds of meals that you can prep or even eat over the next week. Even if you're not planning everything in advance, having those grocery items available so that you can cook them and plan those meals means that you would not get to the point where you're like, oh, I don't have anything at home, so now I'm going to skip my meals. You could also be ordering from outside, but when you're ordering food from outside, maybe go for healthier options. Don't go for something that is a deep fried item or that you know is very high in calories or very high in sugars or salt or fat. Eating balanced meals throughout the day, where you have a good balance of carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, protein, and healthy fats, is over time, what it's going to do is stabilize your blood sugar levels, and that is going to reduce your cravings over time, because you're not going to be depriving your body. You're not going to feel these intense pangs of hunger either. So few things that you can do is also have some snack-sized portions in either Ziploc bags or dabba, like a box or something available. So if you know that you're going to create, I finish my meals, I have my breakfast, I have my my lunch, and between lunch and dinner, I start getting these hunger pangs at 4 p.m. It's a very common thing because there is usually a longer duration between you having your lunch and dinner. Have a 4 p.m. snack ready. And we are going to do a future episode where I'm going to give you lots of ideas about what you can do with healthy snacks. What are the different things that you can have easily available or even make in your kitchen that you can go to. So we'll talk about that in the future episodes. But definitely do not skip your meals. Do not skip your breakfast. Breakfast is such an important meal. It's something that for years I would skip, and I definitely ate a lot more junk food back in the day when I used to do that. So having a good breakfast is going to be very important for you as well. Point number 2 is drinking a large glass of water. Trust me, this is the easiest tip that I can give you, and it really works. Sometimes what ends up happening is that our body is just thirsty, and if you're one of those people who's not having regular water by your either desk or in your life, you're not carrying a water bottle around, you're probably not drinking enough water. It's a very common problem, and then our body gets thirsty and we start mistaking thirst for hunger. So the next time that you're having this intense craving, go have a large glass of water and then wait for a few minutes and see if you're still craving food. Then maybe you are hungry and you can go in for a healthy snack. In general, try to drink enough water throughout your day so that you can stay hydrated and you can avoid these unnecessary cravings as well. But also, water is really good for metabolism. It's really good for digestion. It's good for everything. Actually, not drinking enough water can also affect or negate the work that you're putting into your body by doing workouts and stuff. So stay really well hydrated, you all. Water can have such positive effects on your body. It is amazing. Next, eating more protein in your diet. Increasing the protein intake that you have can really make you feel fuller for longer, which also means you will eat fewer calories. And we'll go into why that is in just a second. But many people would ask, well, how much protein should I be eating? About 10 to 35% of your daily calories is a very good recommended amount. You can also, if you're doing more strength training, being more on the higher end of that spectrum is something I would highly recommend. In a future episode, again, when we go more into nutrition, we will talk about what those balanced diets look like, what should be the amount of protein that you're putting into your body as a formula of the weight that you have, and so on. Some good examples of healthy proteins could be if you eat fish. Fish is a great example, but then fish can be of different types. So definitely see where you're eating lean fat fish or very fatty fish or high oil fish and all of those things. Beans, vegetables, nuts. Again, if you're eating roasted nuts, make sure they don't have salt on them. So now let's explore a little bit more into like why does protein, like I said, make you feel fuller for longer? Why does it increase your satiety? Now this is exactly where we go back to that hormones that we were talking about at the start of the episode, lectin and ghrelin. Lectin, which helps you feel that feeling of satiety, and ghrelin, which makes you feel the hunger. High protein diets actually have a very good effect on hormone production. This has been shown, and it can regulate these hormones that make you feel the hunger and the satiety. Hormones which when you have a lot of carbs, hormones can make you feel full, but then they can also rebound very quickly and you feel hunger more quickly, whereas protein does not have that particular effect, and it has been really shown. There have been a lot of studies that have looked at these different hormone levels when people are having high protein diets, for example, and especially high protein breakfast is something that is a very easy way for us to feel fuller for longer. So if you eat eggs, having an egg in the morning, or you can have oatmeal, chia pudding, all of these things are great examples of things you can eat in your breakfast. The other thing that a high protein diet will help you with is that it increases your diet induced thermogenesis. It's basically the thermal effect of eating your food, which is basically after eating your food, you're burning calories, right? So that's called like the thermic effect of food. That is higher with proteins, and that definitely increases your resting metabolic rate over time as well. So these are all really positive reasons for which a high protein diet can really help you, make you feel fuller for longer. You do not feel more junk food cravings and so on. Now, before I end this particular section, I want to just say one thing, that there are a lot of supplements in the market that you see which talk about increasing that thermogenesis of effect of food, which is basically like they call thermogenic supplements, and they are usually marketed around, this will help you with weight loss. I strongly recommend that if you're going to go in for any kind of supplements, please do enough research on this. There are many thermogenic supplements that are not approved by the FDA, and there are also some that are banned because there are some ingredients in there that are not good for you. As an influencer, I get reached out by multiple brands about supplements all the time. I do not endorse any kind of supplements for aiding with weight loss. Now, of course, there are some dietary supplements that can help you fill some of the deficiencies in your body, and we can talk about that in a future episode as well. But in terms of weight loss, if you are going to go that route, I strongly recommend that you do full research on what is going into your body. Let's go into point number 4, which is a very, very common reason that people eat junk food, and that is stress. So managing your stress is extremely important. See, stress can trigger a lot of cravings, and there has been a lot of research that has shown that stress-induced disorders are more common in women than in men. There are a lot of, stress-induced chocolate cravings or junk food cravings and so on, and they are more common in women. So I strongly recommend that you listen to your body, pay attention to your stress levels. If they are high, what are you typically doing for that, and so on. Now, when your stress levels go up, your cortisol levels, your adrenaline levels go up as well. This is, some higher levels in cortisol is fine, and that is normal and so on. But excessive increase can always have negative side effects as well. Studies have shown that when you have very high levels of cortisol in your body, you do crave for more of this processed and salty and sweet and all of those things in your body, and naturally just eating unhealthy food is going to give you weight gain. So there has been some associations between stress and obesity and all of these things as well. I'm not saying that's causing it, but there are strong associations here as well. As you see, it becomes a vicious cycle that you're putting your body through. If stress is a trigger for you that is causing junk food cravings, I strongly recommend thinking about ways to manage your stress more effectively, which is not food. So maybe try to think about taking a walk. When I'm feeling very stressed, I'm craving something, I'm going to just walk away for 10 minutes and just let that out in some other way. Meditation helps a lot of people. Yoga is really amazing in that sense as well. Taking some deep breaths, maybe taking few moments in your day where you are, a lot of these fitness trackers have these mindfulness modes where you can do 2 minutes of deep breathing and things. These are really good things that you could try. If stress levels are very high, maybe talk to someone, a friend or a family member. If it's high to the point that you need to talk to someone and get professional help, please do that as well. It is really important for you to take care of not only your physical health but also your mental health, because this is all connected. Doing something creative can help sometimes. This can, with some people, dancing can help. My workouts, I just put out a stress buster workout some time back on my channel as well, which I've heard, dancing really helps people relieve their stress. Painting, maybe reading, it could be anything that helps you. Journaling as well, whatever works for you. Let's go to the next point, which is getting enough sleep. This one I think is the easiest one, but then this is also the hardest one, because if not getting enough sleep is the reason that you are craving unhealthy habits in your life, then it might be that also causes some sleep disruption for you, and then it becomes a cycle again. Not having enough sleep can disrupt your hormones. It can lead to reduced leptin, increase ghrelin. It can increase your BMI. There are a lot of these things. 7 to 8 hours is highly recommended as a good night's sleep. There are, again, with fitness trackers that you have, there are ways in which you can look at how well you're sleeping as well. This is, again, if you're having some very bad disruptions in your sleep, or you have insomnia or something, please talk to a professional on this front. Let's go into this last point, which is going to be a quick one because I'm going to be doing a future episode on this one, which is shopping for healthier snacks. See, whatever's in your kitchen is what you're going to put into your body. So disassociating or distancing yourself from unhealthy options can really help you. We're going to talk a lot more about some very easy snacks that you can either buy or make or whip up very quickly in your kitchen in a future episode. This brings us to the end of the episode and the tip of the day. Remember to be patient with yourself. If you do need to seek support or help, don't be hesitant to ask for it. Either speak to a family member, a friend, join a support group. Maybe there is an online group that can help you, or sign up with a registered dietitian and nutritionist or a personal trainer who can really help you make good habits out of your daily lifestyle, which is tailored to you. This is exactly what I go for in my SabhFIT programs as well. In addition to workout programs, we talk about how do we break some of our bad habits, because ultimately doing strict diets or doing like a very intense program for a short period of time might help you lose weight in the short term, but it's very easy to gain that weight back as well. With me, with my programs, I'm always pushing you to make healthy choices that can be sustainable, something that you can do over long periods of time. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Check out all the links in the description. My links to the SabhFIT programs are down there, as well as the links to my YouTube and my Instagram as well. Leave me a comment, DM me. I love to hear from you always. I'm also on your favorite podcast platform, so don't forget to follow me there and be notified every time a new episode releases. I will talk to you very soon. Remember, you got this.